Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. Today we're back with Radiance's Cosa Nostra, Damiani and Franco Nero box set. We're going back to 1975, and this is Radiance by number 16, and this is How to Kill a Judge, or Perché si Studi un Magistrato. This has alternate artwork. It's a 2K scan, which looks marvellous. There's another 2022 interview with Franco Nero, 13 minutes for some more hilarious little anecdotes. There's an interview with Alberto Pizzotta, who's the author of Directed by Damiani, which is from 2022, which is 34 minutes long. And if you actually want a proper review of the film, there's a David Cairns video essay from 2023, which is 22 minutes. And obviously he does a far better job of explaining the film and its themes than I'm about to. So this is another wonderful Damiani film, which actually makes a lovely double bill with Francesco Rossi's Illustrious Corpses with Lino Ventura and Max von Sydow. Granted, I think this is a masterpiece. How to Kill a Judge perhaps isn't a masterpiece, but it's certainly very, very good. It's perhaps a little notch lower than Day of the Owl, which I did a random review of not that long ago. So this is an interesting film in the sense of it brings up questions that have been asked time and time again, certainly in Britain in the 80s with the Video Nasties and Mary Whitehouse. It's, do films with violence, does that make people in reality go out and commit violent acts? The film opens with somebody who works for a judge saying they're going to launch an injunction against the film. Franco Nero is a young director called Solaris. I don't know whether that's a Tarkovsky reference or not, who's made a film about a corrupt judge who resembles the judge that we meet early on in the film. And at the end of the film, the judge is shot in a very stylistic, almost like an Odessa Steps death, with his links to the mafia and such. And very much like Citizen Kane, this is taken as a not very well disguised shot at, if you'll pardon the pun, this judge who may or may not have links with the mafia and have, corruption. The scenes about a witness being left in his care and the witness ends up dead. So Franco Nero's character, don't worry, he's got a moustache in this film, he's not clean shaven. We couldn't have that for 2 films in a row. He's very cocksure, he's very arrogant, he's very kind of, what's wrong with it? It's just a film, it's just coincidence. And he's not really that bothered about who he offends or who upsets. And the public seems to enjoy the film, especially the bit where the judge gets shot at the end of the film. Obviously you have to remember it's 1975, so we're well into the years of lead in Italy, where judges were blown up and police stations were blown up and There was riots and strikes. Generally not a great place to be. This is set in Sicily, like the Day of the Owl was. So Solaris is invited to dinner with the judge and his family. Obviously the judge's wife doesn't particularly like Franco Nero for some reason, as since the film has come out, people have been throwing rocks through his window and almost hit their son. So the judge doesn't ask him, to take or remove the film, or he just kind of wants some information from him about where he got his sources and things like that. We still don't necessarily know whether the judge is corrupt or not. But there is an atmosphere of, the public are really getting unruly with the perceived corruption of these judges. And it's not really a huge spoiler alert that the judge ends up dead. Just as Franco Nero is leaving the area to go to Rome for a break to get away from the publicity, the judge is found murdered in a park. I mean, this is one of Franco Nero's best performances, because his character does actually change when he finds out the judge has actually been shot. He does have that face of surprise and dumbfoundedness and shock and anger, and he really does a good job of portraying that. And then he morphs into an Argento quote-unquote hero, as in kind of an outsider who tries to play detective, generally gets other people killed or in trouble, kind of bungles his way through things, has kind of theories of who did it and how they did it, and then that might not necessarily be the actual truth, but he's sold on his convictions even if they're actually the wrong convictions. So there's a lovely arc that Franco Nero's character has. And again, there's some red herrings about who might have killed the judge. And again, the question does come up. Does, your violent film, did that cause somebody to watch it and then commit an act of violence and kill the judge? In his many visits with the widow, who just wants to be left in peace, as it turns out she's pregnant. They come across a poster of his film, and somebody's graffitiing the word good across it, and then Franco Nero actually starts taking stock of the idea that, well, perhaps did his film incite somebody to actually kill the judge. I mean, obviously Kubrick famously had the issue with Clockwork Orange. Other filmmakers have been unrepentant. Other filmmakers perhaps take it a little bit seriously, and their attitude to the violence in their films kind of changes as they grow older. So again, it has that kind of fascinating element. It has all these interesting characters. So you have the kind of political party in the background, and they've got factions, and they're querying, did one of these two factions kill the judge? You've got the smarmy lawyer who is the widow and the deceased judge's lawyer, but he's also got connections. We have this mafia boss who people think did the hit, who is kind of in hiding in a warehouse with his own private kidney dialysis machine. Franco Nero has a pal who's kind of lower end in the mafia. So there's all these interesting little characters. Again, this is not 111 minutes of slam bam action. Again, this is along the lines of Illustrious Corpses, which actually came out the year after How to Kill a Judge. So again, it's actually a bit like an Argento, without kind of the jolly elements, without the kind of, obviously, the supernatural or the stuff that makes no logical sense, the kind of dream logic obviously doesn't have that kind of stuff. But Franco Nero is a kind of Argento, not necessarily hero, but protagonist, if you like. It's got a lovely score. Again, I think it's one of Franco Nero's more kind of nuanced, and the character does actually go through a change from this really cocksure, confident, I can do whatever I like, to actually going, well, people have actually died, and is it because of my film? Because a lot of the time he's not actually that nice a character. He is kind of friends with a police inspector, but not really, kind of pisses him off all the time. So he is a kind of interesting character. How the film ends is perhaps a bone of contention, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as perhaps people have criticised it for, especially the person who co-wrote it wasn't that happy about it, and Damiani himself has maybe suggested he could have done it differently, but I think it still works. As I say, to me it's not on the level of Illustrious Corpses, but again, I think Illustrious Corpses is a masterpiece. But this is really enjoyable. Again, it flies by. The whodunit is interesting enough, again, because it's an Italian film in the years of lead. There's still that north-south stuff going on in the background, and just again this air of corruption. The police are going to frame you, that kind of attitude. And again, as soon as the judge is killed, the film, the profits go higher and higher, and they make more money as soon as the judge is actually killed, and the notoriety of the film. So again, it's that Franco Nero finally becomes kind of successful off the back of somebody dying, basically. So there's interesting dynamics and interesting moral questions that come up. And again, it just moves, as David Cairn says in his excellent video essay. Damiani is always moving the camera. He doesn't really believe in a static camera, and apart from anything else, the moving of the camera and the surroundings means the characters are kind of off balance and don't know what's going on, and that's certainly the case from Franco Nero and his Mr. Solaris, as he tries to figure out exactly what the heck's been going on. So thanks very much for watching this random review of How to Kill a Judge from 1975, film number 2 in the Radiance Cosa Nostra box set. So please let me know if you've seen How to Kill a Judge and what you think of it, and hope you'll join me again for more random reviews. Who knows, I might be reviewing the 3rd film in this wonderful box set. So this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.